everybody, welcome to another Triple Hound video, and today we're going to do another one of our movie reviews, this time for John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. And if you haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want to hear any spoilers about what happened, we will give you our customary 3-second countdown before we start talking about all of the cool things that happened in the movie. 3, 2, 1... That was a really weird countdown. If you're still with us, that means you've either already seen the movie or you don't care about hearing spoilers that happen in the movie. You're not worried about that type of thing. So we're going to start talking about it. And we assume that if you're watching, you've already seen John Wick and John Wick 2. So we're only talking about John Wick Chapter 3 here. Well, we may touch upon some stuff that happened in the first.
Because these might relate to.
Because they relate to the whole storyline or whatever.
I'm probably gonna have to start from the end of the second movie because that leads into the third movie. So.
All right, well, do it quickly.
Okay.
What is this, Masterpiece Theater? All right, go ahead, go.
So, in the second movie, at the end, John Wick breaks the rules of the Continental and ends up killing someone in the Continental. If you didn't already know the rules of the Continental, you cannot do any of your business or hurting anyone in the Continental, which is a hotel.
John Wick, excommunicado.
Now, in the beginning of John Wick 3, Chapter 3, he is being hunted down by multiple people.
Basically everyone, because...
Basically everyone who happens to be an assassin, which is like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people, apparently.
I bet you didn't know that like every third person in the world is an assassin. Anyways,
yeah.
like everybody is hunting him down because there's a 14 million bounty on his head set by the High Table, which is sort of the governing body for the criminal underworld, I guess you could say. He calls in a couple of favors, finds his way to the only person in the world who is supposedly on even higher than the High Table. But the only person who's higher than the High Table gives him one task to redeem himself. He says, if you do this one thing for me, I'll wipe your slate clean, but I mean, in terms of like bounties and stuff, but you'll have to work for the High Table for the rest of your life. And that task is to kill Winston, the manager of the Continental.
Remember, he's like best friends with, basically.
Who he's sort of friends with.
Service is still off limits to me. What do you need? Guns. Lots of guns.
He goes to kill Winston. Winston, at that point in time, had been punished by the High Table for having helped John Wick out at the tail end of the second movie, and Winston sort of convinces John Wick to join his sort of revolt against the High Table. It sort of becomes the War of the Continental, if you will. The High Table sends a bunch of heavily armored attack people to the Continental. John Wick and the front desk guy defend Winston and defend the Continental. And then, again, spoiler alert, at the end...
In order to keep the Continental, Winston shoots and then pushes him off the edge of the high building that they're on, which is the Continental. And he is supposedly dead.
So the representative from the High Table basically says, you know,
okay,
let's call a truce here.
Sure.
And in order to sort of consummate the truce, Winston kills John Wick. However,
you've got a nasty surprise coming.
John Wick survives because the character played by Lawrence Fishburne, the king of the Bowery, if you will, he rescues John Wick at the tail end of the movie. He also had been punished by the High Table for having helped John Wick in the previous movie.
And he gets cut 7 times, but somehow he survived.
So he's... so Lawrence Fishburne's character is angry at the High Table and is sort of contemplating a revolt against the High Table, and he saves John Wick, and that's sort of how the movie ends.
So we are definitely expecting a 4th movie.
What do you think happens in the 4th movie?
I'm gonna guess the start of the movie is him getting, like, healed up, probably, because he's pretty damaged. He looks like he's been burnt in a fire, like, 4 times. So, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if Winston did that on purpose and, maybe John somehow knew what he was doing.
Winston, ostensibly betrayed John Wick at the end of Chapter 3 by shooting him while trying to make a deal with the High Table to keep the Continental. But I wonder if Winston intentionally didn't kill him, if he staged that in such a way that he knew John Wick would survive and he knew John Wick would come back and take out the high table. I wonder if this was a play by Winston to keep John Wick alive long enough so that John Wick could come back after the high table and clear out the high table so that Winston could be in a position of even greater power. That's what I wonder. The trouble is that that's a really risky move by Winston, because Winston has to know that by shooting and
attempting to kill.
shooting and knocking John Wick off the roof of the Continental, that he'd make John Wick extremely angry, and that John Wick would come back after him too. Who do you think the fighting parties are in the fourth movie? Do you think it's John Wick plus Lawrence Fishburne against the Continental and the High Table? Do you think it's the Continental versus the High Table versus John Wick and Lawrence Fishburne? Who's fighting who in the fourth movie?
I think Winston is going to somehow make it up to John Wick in some way that they're going to be. I feel like it's going to be Continental. I think it's going to be everyone against the High Table. At least everyone who's annoyed by them.
I would, as a fan, so this is not what I necessarily think will happen. As a fan, I'd like to see Winston and John Wick friends. I'd like to see them end the fourth movie. If the fourth movie is the last one, I would like to see John Wick and Winston be on the same side. But we'll see. That was our sort of quick, spoiler-filled review of John Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum. We also have videos up of Detective Pikachu, of Avengers Endgame.
Oh, hold on, I have a thing. We also figured out during the movie that he happens to have almost the exact same ring as John Wick.
Oh yeah, John Wick has the same wedding ring as I do.
Basically, yeah.
So that probably means I'm a really talented hitman.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and see you next time.
Goodbye.
There you go.